You ever wonder why some people can choose to do the right thing and others find it difficult to control their impulse? You ever wonder why some people are more predisposed to substance use or to shopping addiction or to pornography or to do things that they struggle with, they don't want to do it, but yet still they find themselves doing it? You ever wonder why some people find it difficult to choose between a healthy drink and an unhealthy drink, even though they know that that drink is unhealthy for them? Or why people choose one thing over another? You ever wonder why? Maybe you are one of those persons who you know you should choose to do the right thing, but you find it difficult to do it. Well, today we are going to talk about impulse control. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. I am Dr. Courtney Dookie, author of the book Neuroplasticity, Healing the Brain from Psychological Disorders Through Biblical Meditation. I welcome you, and I hope that you are blessed, and I hope you learned something today. As many of you guys are aware, that on September 20th, 2020, from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., we're doing our virtual book launch. Going towards that date, I will be releasing a series of videos in which I am choosing very specific, I'm looking at specific areas of the brain and how biblical meditation can help to regulate and change those areas of the brain. So today, we are looking at the orbital prefrontal cortex. It is that part of the brain that helps us to make choices, to choose between the right thing or the wrong thing. And oftentimes when people are going through life, they've gone through or they're in life's difficult times, they find it hard to make the right choices. And you've heard it before, that if you are going through some hard times, it is not the best time to make a decision. If you're going through grief and loss, or you're going through a traumatic time in your life, you've heard it many times. It is not the best time to choose to make important decisions. It is also not the best time to choose life. It is not the best time to choose to make major life decisions. And that is what we're talking about today. We're talking about the ability to control impulses. Let's go in my book. In my book, on pages 34 and 35, you find this there. Have you ever wondered why some people choose one option over another? The willpower to decide to do the right thing for the right reason is hinged on the healthy development of the orbital prefrontal cortex. Think about it. The power of interpersonal connection, the power of early relationships, the way how we were raised, those caregivers around us. In those early relationships, we learn from that early age how to regulate impulse control. But sometimes, based on what I brought out in the book, sometimes many of us, I should say, not sometimes, but many of us, we have gone through severe traumatic experiences. And those traumatic experiences significantly impact the function of the orbital prefrontal cortex. And thus, as we get into adulthood and we recognize, man, how is it so hard to choose to do the right thing? Why is it so hard to choose to do the right thing? And that is what I want to share with you today. There is good news. The good news is this: it does not matter what trauma or psychological distress has done to our brain, has done to the orbital prefrontal cortex. Again, I must say this to clarify. The orbital prefrontal cortex is not the most well understood part of the brain. But what I'm sharing with you today is what we know to date, that it plays a crucial role in impulse control. Guess what? When the orbital prefrontal cortex is dysregulated, we tend to make inappropriate choices. We tend to choose the wrong things, even though we know what the right thing or things are. But in the Word of God, remember what we keep saying, that the best medicine is from the Word of God. When we spend time in the Bible, and that is one of the points I brought out in this book, the power of biblical meditation to regulate different parts of the brain. And that's what we're talking about today, that when we spend time in the Word of God, when we spend time praying and meditating on the Word of God, it has the power to regulate how our brains function. So think of it like this. If you are one of those individuals who are struggling with impulse control, you may be finding it hard to control maybe an eating disorder or an addiction or shopping addictions. You may find it hard to manage gambling or any of those impulse disorders. You may be struggling with that today. I encourage you, set aside some time for 3 times a day. Find some promise Bible verses with promises that speak to you. Find a Bible passage in which Jesus is healing someone, he's ministering to someone. Immerse yourself in that passage. Meditate on that passage. When we start to spend time to meditate on the Word of God, to pray, to move our minds into the presence of God, when we do that, we stimulate, we activate the orbital prefrontal cortex. By activating the orbital prefrontal cortex, we now can learn how to regulate impulse control. Wow, that is powerful. That by spending time in the Word of God, we can regulate our inability to control our impulses. Think of that. That is powerful. But that is what God has provided for us in His Word. So I encourage you, if you are struggling today with controlling your impulse, make a decision to spend 15 to 30 minutes a day meditating on the Word of God, and you will start to see the benefits. You will start to recognize that you become more controlled in how you choose, and you take control of the impulses and not the impulses taking control of you. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope this was beneficial for you. Again, remember, the best medicine is from the Word of God. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye-bye for now.